Yo, what's poppin', y'all? We back with another episode of the No Level Cap podcast. This week we gonna talk about everybody's favorite genre, shonen. This one has the potential to get spicy, and I mean, y'all know how shonen fan bases are, but bro, y'all also know I don't give a shit about how they are. So we gonna let the opinions fly. If you got something wild to say that shit and keep going. So I mean, like one thing I want to start out with is to ask about how do y'all feel about the state of shonen anime and manga right now? Because I feel like we in a weird space. Like, am I wrong? Like, am I out of line for saying I feel like we in a weird space? First off, I think it's weird that Naruto is technically still going. You know, you ain't
Mhm.
gotta like it, but Boruto is the continuation. It's the canon continuation of Naruto. So like, it's still going. One Piece is still going, and Bleach is about to come back. I think it's weird that we've had a consistent, like, it's one thing to have movies, off and on movies. It's one thing to have seasons. You know, they go away for a couple of years and come back like Gundam. But like to just be around for 20 fucking years, going fucking nowhere, that shit is crazy. That's crazy. And then, but the weird thing is on the flip side, Shonen Jump, like the main Shonen manga magazine, and there are multiple. So like I want to get this clear for people that are watching us, and then like people that think we might not know what the fuck we talk about. There are multiple. So there's not just Shonen Jump. There's Weekly Shonen Sunday. There's Weekly Shonen Magazine, and then there are a multitude of other magazines that aren't quite as big as those, but those are like the big ones. And then there's stuff like Shonen Jump Plus and shit like that. But like for Shonen Jump, I think they're in a weird spot because for so long they've relied, and we're going to talk about the big three later, but for so long they've relied on the same handful of series, and I'd be damned if they ain't all coming to an end in the next 3 to 5 years. Like Black Clover, they just confirmed that's on its
Mhm.
last arc. My Hero, bro, the My Hero creator at the end of last year, because at the end of every year they talk to the creators and they're like, "Hey, how do you feel about your manga and what's coming up in the next year?" And Horikoshi was like, "Yo, man, I plan on being the fuck up out of here. I don't know about like my intention by the end of next year is for me to be the fuck up out of here and this manga to be over with." And to some extent, I feel like that's hurting the manga and definitely gonna hurt the anime. It's gonna feel weird and rushed. Like there are certain things, certain plot points, and certain developments that are gonna happen later on. And I won't spoil it for the anime onlys, but there are certain things that's gonna happen later on where you can be like, yeah, that fast, like that this person just showed up. What? Like you're gonna see that later on if you're anime only, and it's the design of this person rushing their way through. And it's the same thing with Demon Slayer. The creative Demon Slayer, they came through, sold hella copies, went out on top, but it's like, damn, you were only around for 4 years. In 4 years, they outsold Bleach, which is, I'll talk about that later. But like the fact that they just popped in, came, was on top of the world, and didn't hang out long enough to even fall off. Like whatever you thought about, you can't say it fell off. Like it was the same quality for the entire 4 years, and then they just dipped on out. And in
Mhm.
One Piece, supposedly, is entering its final arc. Now you know how One Piece is; its arc lasts for years. That's why I said within the next 3 to 5 years, because I'm like, I can see a world in which Oda is still writing that book in 2025, talking about, well, yeah, I think we're on the last year or some shit like that. So like, I just feel that one's gonna stick around for a while. But I do think Shonen Jump has a problem where they're constantly replacing manga, constantly, and they because they can't stick to the same handful, and that's fine. Like you can kick out lesser successful series. You can kick out certain shows. You can be like, ah, man, I ain't got time for this, and you kick that out. But what you can't do is kick out lesser successful series when you don't have like a bedrock to rely on.
Mhm.
And so like I feel like the shonen industry is kind of at a weird state right now. Like the anime it feels more stable and yet less stable than ever to me. Now I don't know that it matters because I'm not a shonen only fan. But if you were one of those people that was just like, yeah, I rock primarily with shonen, you should feel and you're in a precarious position. Uh, Rakeem, how do you feel about shonen anime and manga right now?
I feel like, to your point, you gave a great foundation for that to help me out because I don't read as much shonen manga as I watch shonen anime. It feels like shonen mangas at this kind of turn of almost a new age where they have to come up with something like they need something new and like maybe a new direction to go in with some of their series. Whereas the anime, I feel like the anime is fine because they've kind of had this really lucky spell where they kind of have like a year where you have one big anime, shonen anime, and then next year maybe the anime doesn't come back for another year, and then a new one pops up. Like what happened with like Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan. It felt like every year we had a big shonen. So currently with the anime, it feels a little more stable. We won't see the ramifications of the manga issue probably like 3 to 5 years from now, probably. Once a lot of these series are wrapped up. Who knows when One Piece is gonna end? Lord have mercy. That could be 8 years from now when it finally wraps up its anime, depending on how long this manga run is. Because a manga arc in One Piece could last 3 years. That's normal. So like I can only imagine how long that would be in anime terms. But to me, it feels like the manga industry needs a new face. Like if we put everything in wrestling terms. John Cena can only lasted 20 years. John Cena was One Piece. John Cena about to retire. John Cena's basically retired already. He comes back and does appearances now and then. So John Cena is One Piece, and you ain't got another John Cena. You might have an Austin Theory. You might have you got a Roman Reigns. Another series like My Hero. That's your Roman Reigns, but he won out too. He about to get out of there too. It's the same thing. So now you got to figure out who to replace these two bedrocks I've had for so long, because I felt like when One Piece, even though One Piece has been around a long time, and even though My Hero probably wasn't as popular as what Demon Slayer was at its peak, I feel like My Hero permeated into the Western audience very well. Like it did a great job, like to the point where like little kids treat that like that's like their Naruto. Like we talked about the last generation, they had Naruto as their big anime. It felt like little kids, My Hero was theirs. To the point where I remember I was at work where this old country woman was like, my child wanted me to pick up something called My Hero Academia. What the hell is that? And I wanted to tell her what it was and go into the history of it. I ain't feel like dealing with that country woman that day. It was just like that. That's exactly what she said.
Academia.
My Hero Academia. What the hell is that?
Hey, man, she was trying to, look out for her kids,
Let's try. But yeah, I feel like I said, I feel like the manga is in that phase where like, all right, we gotta figure this out and like either get commission some new manga, go in a different direction, try to find a new face out of the series we have and really push it more. And the anime is gonna be okay, at least for the next 3 to 5 years until we see the ramifications of these mangas ending now. That's how I feel about it so far.
Terrence, how do you feel about the current state? And I actually have something to say in response to what Keem said, but we're gonna shift it a little bit. Terrence, how do you feel about the state of shonen anime and manga right now?
So I'd have to agree with Rakeem, and I do appreciate you, giving the context for the manga industry, like Shonen Jump as it is right now, because you are right. There are a lot of series that are starting to come to an end, and they're like big series too. And so when they're done, Shonen Jump right now, they're kind of scrambling to get the next big thing before those series end, because if those series end and they have nothing essentially to replace it, then you're kind of screwed. But in terms of anime, yeah, Shonen at this point it feels like it's bigger than it's ever been. I mean, the fact that we're finally getting all these movies that are finally all these anime movies are now coming to the West, so it's not like you have to wait like years on end for it finally to be like imported or something like that, or you have to go watch it on one of those websites or something like that. It's like you can just go to the theater now if you're in a city that gets those kind of showings, and you could just go watch it. You don't have to worry about that. I've seen more anime movies in like the past like 5 years than I have probably ever. In theaters, I mean, from like the My Hero movies to the Jujutsu Kaisen movie that came out earlier this year, the Demon Slayer movie that came out last year, Sword Art Online. Like, there's just so many anime movies that are starting to come to the West now, and it's great. And in terms of the popularity of shonen anime, I mean, you have Demon Slayer, it's stupidly popular. Jujutsu Kaisen, it's really popular. And I know we're going to get to this later on in the episode, but I mean, Chainsaw Man, the hype train, it's chewing hard right now, for real. Like, it's insane. I mean, of course, One Piece is still popular. We have a Dragon Ball Super movie coming out next month. Shonen.
Rumor is Dragon Ball Super is coming back to anime too.
Yeah, so Shonen's in an excellent spot right now. Like anime anyway. Like Shonen Anime is in the best spot that it's ever been. Like feels even stronger than what it was during like the Toonami days or even like the 2010s. Like we're just in this golden era of shonen, and just even outside of like battle shonen stuff, like just shonen demographic anime are doing
Speak on it.
really well. So yeah, I like where the anime industry is with shonen right now. The manga industry, yeah, there is some cause for concern, but since I don't keep up with manga as much as I do anime, I can really only speak on the anime side of it. So from my viewpoint, the anime side is doing really well.
Okay, I do want to add some context because I a little further context because I don't want people to think that I set y'all up and I was like, yeah, they it's Shonen Jump feel like it's about to be screwed, and that's okay. To use Rakeem's analogy, because he went with the wrestling thing, it's good. It's a really good analogy because I'll tell you why. Like in wrestling, you have the guy. You have your Hulk Hogan, fuck Hulk Hogan. You had your John Cena. You had your Rocks, Stone Cold, Roman Reigns. You have the face of the company, and then you below that you got a lot of mid tiers. And I feel like there are a lot of mid tiers that like they could become top tier face of the franchise type people. Like, and then so for whatever reason they never break through, or maybe they quit a little early. And that's how it works in wrestling. And I feel like we got that a little bit in anime too, or manga, because there are some manga that are coming up that are pretty popular. You've got Witch Watch and Undead Unluck and the Elusive Samurai, that type shit. Like you got a few there's got some heat behind them. You got Jujutsu Kaisen. What's the other shit? Mashley, Magic and Muscles.
Yeah,
like y'all may not know about that one. Y'all are going to know about that one in like probably the next year or so.
Had the mangaka not been a perv, then Act Age could have been a big one. But yeah.
Say again. You broke my, like, bringing up Act Age broke my heart, man. Like, that show. That when I read that manga, I was like, this is going to be something special. Like if it could have gotten the same quality of adaptation that Spy Family got, like Act Age could have been something truly groundbreaking. Like it could have been something like a shonen anime that wasn't about action, that was something for the ages. Like the way that the story was set up, and I could just imagine how they could have animated. Man, that could have been like really something amazing. And it sucks that dude. And then the sad thing is, like, it was a two-person, like, it's one of those rare, well, not as rare now, but like it's one of those rare cases where it was a two-person project. It was like a writer and an artist, and the writer turned out to be the fucking creep. And then the artist, they was just minding their own business, and they gotta find out, like, yeah, your partner, they was a creep the whole time. It's like, oh man, fuck. So you ruin that person's career because you derail that person's career because now they got to find another project, and then you ruin like your own project. Like that was something that could have been something special to a lot of people, and so that is a real bummer. But like there are tons of like and then of course you have other shows in like other manga series, like in Weekly Shonen Magazine and Weekly Shonen Sunday, but those they never quite break through, like with a few exceptions, like Seven Deadly Sins and Fairy Tail. With a few exceptions, those never really break through to the mainstream like the Shonen Jump series do. But like it's just the thing is, even though you do have all those manga I mentioned, here's the thing: it could easily be another Demon Slayer, where it's super popular for like it's red hot supernova for a brief period of time, and then the manga, the creator is like, I'm tired of this and I want to stop writing it now. Like that's like for when like people forget that for all the talk about the big three, which I'm gonna get into a little later, but like for all the talk about how important the big three was, the really important thing about the big three is that they were always there.
The pillars.
Like they were there month in and month out for years, and so that gave Shonen Jump, that gave Shueisha the opportunity to be like, hey man, this manga right here, it's not popular, get out. Bro, it's only been 17 weeks, get out. Bro, at least give me a full year, get out right now. And they could put so many shows on the chopping block and try to get the next hit in because they had those old reliables. And like, even though really the most reliable one was One Piece, and then behind that a little bit was Naruto. Still, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, like I don't know what it is in Japan because I don't live there, and I definitely, you know, I don't think they've done, you know, articles or exposés on this, but like it does seem like a lot of the creators are like, look, I'm not finna sit here and work on those same manga for 10 plus years and give 10 years of my life to this. I'm not finna do that. I'm gonna move on to something else, which is fine. But like when you move on to something else, there's no guarantee that that's going to be popular. Here's an example. I don't care how popular Kishimoto is. What happened to Samurai 8? So y'all don't even. Keem, do you know what Samurai 8 is?
I know what you're talking about.
I know of it.
Yeah.
That shit hung on way longer than it should have because Kishimoto, he had the name value. He's like, yeah, you know, I'm Kishimoto. I can do that. But like even still, after a while, even Shonen Jump was like, yo, man, wrap this shit the fuck up.
This ain't
like,
it.
It's not. Nobody cares, bro. Wrap it up. So like I feel like the manga is not in a terrible position, but I think that maybe they might have to dial it back on how quickly they go, hey man, cancel this shit. I'll buy me another one. Like you might have to you might chill out on all that Nino Brown shit where you look at a manga that's not really working out and you might have to wait a little while, which could be good. Right? Like some shows need a little bit more time to get an audience. Like MASH in the 70s, MASH took, you know, the first season, it wasn't all that popular. And by season 2, after some reruns, it was a fucking hit. So, like, maybe if you give some manga, you know, like a year of time, like, maybe it could come out to be, like, some hits. Like, if y'all slow down on canceling everything. Because, I mean, like, and I'll say this real quick. To me, I don't read Shonen Jump manga when they first get launched. I just don't bother. Like there are a few. There's one Ayakashi Triangle. I knew that was gonna be a success.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Because I was like, you know, it's the dude that made Black Cat and they made To Love Ru, and I was like, he kind of knows what it takes to make a hit. You know, he kind of hit on what he needed to make a hit, and sure enough, that manga lasted long enough to get an anime, and it's still going. So like, I was like fine reading that. But otherwise, like, I don't really read new Shonen Jump manga, because I'm like, that bitch gonna get canceled if, you know, like, you know how many times I've gotten attached to a Shonen Jump manga and that motherfucker was canceled within, like, 17 to 23 chapters? Like, I know the number. Like, you can tell, I know the number. Like, so often they'll be like, look, man, we done released 2 volumes and it ain't no hit, so fuck it. Noah's Notes, I used to love that. Tokyo Shinobi Squad. There was some manga about like a hacker and like I forgot the name of that one because it got canceled so quick. I think it got like 9 chapters and it was like, get out right now. And I'm like, that's absurd. So like, I stopped reading new Shonen Jump manga because I was like, I don't have any trust in y'all that y'all are gonna keep this running long enough like to warrant my attachment. So maybe with all of this changing, they can finally get into the like, all right, man, maybe we should let shit find an audience. And, you know, we don't have these big hits. So we need to let some shit catch an audience and catch fire. So let's move away from that. And I want to, you know, just check the temperature of the room a little bit. What are your top 3? You go up to 5, but I mean, I at least need the top 3 shonen anime from you. So, Terrence, what's up, man? What's your top 3 or top 5 shonen anime? Oh no,
man, this is a tough one, man. I'm not gonna lie, just because. Okay, first off, just for clarification for our audience, like I'm not just gonna talk about like just battle shonen. I'm gonna talk about stuff where the demographic is shonen. So one of the ones that I wrote down is like Death Note. Death Note is shonen. That came out in Shonen Jump. The demographic is shonen, even though it's like psychological and, you know, thriller. It still has a demographic of it has shonen as its target audience. So
that is correct.
It's a shonen. Even stuff like just stuff that people don't think of as shonen. Like I was looking over the list. What's the anime is called like We Never Learn. It's like Boku something, whatever. It's like a romantic comedy, but it's shonen. It came out in Shonen Jump. What's the other one? Niseoki. Or at least I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's shonen. So, you know, just know that whenever we talk about shonen, it's not just the Narutos, the DBZs, and that stuff. You know, you have to consider that other stuff as well. But in terms of my
Bokuben.
picks,
Bokuben.
yeah, Bokuben. Yeah, that's the title, the Japanese title.
Yeah.
The one that the first one, Yu Yu Hakusho. For me, that's that. If I had to pick, like, if I was stuck with just one anime to watch, I would go with Yu Yu Hakusho. Like that, I just, it has everything for me. It's one of the best shonen of all time. For me, it does everything that DBZ did except better. For me personally, so yeah. The other one that I'm gonna go with, and this might come across as kind of like a basic list, but I'm kind of hitting like the ones that are like the ones that stand above the rest, kind of thing. Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist is, it's Full Metal Alchemist. It's one of the greatest anime, greatest manga of all time, and Brotherhood is. Yeah, it's exceptional. It's one of those anime where you can give it to an anime newbie and they can enjoy it. There's no like kind of out there anime tropes or anything that you have to be prepared for. You can just watch it and enjoy it for what it is. So yeah, Full Metal Alchemist will be one of my picks. I'll keep it to a top 3 because maybe I'll do 4. I'm gonna toss Death Note in there. Just because I really like Death Note. I know some people don't like the second half of it. They say that, it goes down after L dies. I mean, to each their own on that. But for me, when Death Note came out, that was I don't want to call it I will say it was a cultural phenomenon because the controversial aspect of it, I remember back then, even like news shows were reporting on like kids using Death Notes and stuff like that. And I mean, that wasn't a good thing, but at the same time, they just showed you that, even at a time where anime wasn't like as huge as it is now, there were people that were still hearing about it. And I just really like Death Note. Death Note is one of my favorite anime of all time. And just as an honorable mention, I kind of have to include it, Dragon Ball Z. And look, I'm going to say this. Dragon Ball Z, in my opinion, is definitely overrated, at least at this point. It's kind of like there's so many shonen out there now that are doing what DBZ did, but better now. Like, the only reason that Super is hanging around is just due to nostalgia, because just there's so many shows out, even My Hero Academia, they just do what DBZ did, except much better. And I might get some hate for that. But
Super turned into 2K a little bit. Like, they just keep watching it, even though all they do is complain about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit, I watched
can't
it.
believe they did this trash.
I can definitely agree with the Super arc because I definitely have felt the same way about that.
Yeah, and I like the Tournament of Power arc. I enjoyed why it made me feel like a kid again because there were so many callbacks to like earlier moments in DBZ. So I appreciate it for that, but I'm gonna call it what it is. It's like it's a nostalgia fest. Without the nostalgia, Dragon Ball Super would just be another mediocre shonen anime. But despite all that, we cannot deny the cultural influence that DBZ has. Without DBZ, you lose like a corner of you lose like this huge pillar of the anime community that like built up anime to where it is today. So even though there are shows now doing what DBZ did better, you still have to pay respects to, one of the founding fathers. It is what it is. So yeah, that's my list. Yu Yu Hakusho, Full Metal Alchemist, Death Note, and Dragon Ball Z. And there's so many others that I could have listed, but just for the sake of time and for the sake of my sanity and not trying to sit here and pick out like which one is really the best, those are the choices that I'm going to go with. And there's some ones that I haven't seen, unfortunately. Like, I know I might get, people are going to look at me kind of weird with this, but I haven't finished all of Hunter x Hunter. I know it's considered like Yu Yu Hakusho on steroids, but I just haven't finished it. I kind of haven't finished it, just not as much, huh? I know some people say like the characters kind of like the characters in Hunter x Hunter are kind of like evolutions of the characters in Yu Yu Hakusho. Would you kind of agree with that?
Like I'll go into depth when I do mine. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I can see where they come from with that though.
Yeah, but yeah, there's still shows that I haven't watched, but yeah, those are the ones that I'm gonna go with for now.
I will say, as far as Dragon Ball, which is not gonna be on my list,
trust me, I kind of didn't want to put it, but I feel like I had to,
I mean, I'm gonna put some respect on his name because I'll say this: like, if you combine Dragon Ball with Dragon Ball Z, it belongs on Anime Mount Rushmore.
Yeah,
so,
when I say Dragon Ball Z, I kind of mean like the franchise as a whole,
Yeah. And I mean, like to Dragon Ball Super's credit, even though it drove me up the wall, I do remember in 2017 every new episode of the Tournament of Power coming out, and we would watch it, and then we go into the group me and start talking about what happened in the episode, and you're like, oh snap, this was crazy, or Android 17 MVP, or like I come in there
MVP
and be like, bro,
17.
I can't believe they kept using fucking Goku like this. Like, it's not too many shows that can get that about you. Like, there are very few shows where we all were just watching it. Like, in fact, the three of us, Dragon Ball Super was one of them, and then Mushoku Tensei was another. So it's not that common. So yeah, it was a worthwhile series like that. Rakeem, well, if you had to do a top 3, top 5 shonen anime, what would you pick?
So for my top 5, this is for me personally because it makes it easier than just like these the best of all time because that's so subjective. Me personally, I have to go back into Dragon Ball, but Sage, what you said hit it on the head. Dragon Ball in its totality, from Dragon Ball all the way to like the end of Z, and you really can end it after the Cell Saga. But I'm gonna include the Buu Saga too. No other anime had an impact on me in my youth like that. Like to the point where like it was a part of the ethos of my youth. I cannot separate my childhood with that anime. I remember where I was when all the arcs happened. I remember telling my parents, look, I'll get my homework done. I literally made an agreement with my parents. I get my homework done, but Dragon Ball Z got to come first. I remember this like it was yesterday. And believe it or not, they said yes.
Same.
That's how serious it was. They knew what it was. It was too much. So yeah, like the impact Dragon Ball had on culture, on me personally, on my community, I cannot leave it off the list. It's impossible. I was watching, speaking of which, I was watching yesterday, just out of nostalgia, I guess, and probably because of the Legend thing that happened this week, because you know that big Legend fan video came out.
Man, that short is so good, man.
That came out, and I just went back and watched the Goku Vegeta Beam battle, and I wanted it, the specific one, so bad. I didn't want the Kai version. I wanted the Ocean dub. I went back to the OG, the old voice actors. I needed to feel that one more time. I had to go back one more time and just see that Beam battle. Because I remember where I was when it happened the first time. Because it was like one of the biggest moments as me as an anime fan, seeing that fight basically cemented anime in my mind. It's like, I'm going to keep watching this forever. And I still am. So I can't separate Dragon Ball from my Mount Rushmore. It's got to go up there. But I agree with Sage, the totality, because I think Dragon Ball, the anime series, is much better written, and it's more interesting with the battle scenes. The choreography is even better. The fight scene choreography is even better. It's way more martial arts heavy, and it's a lot more lighthearted too. Not too serious, even though it is serious, but a lot more lighthearted. But yeah, that's one I put on my Mount Rushmore. Other ones I'd have to put on there. Man, I hate to go over it again. Yu Yu Hakusho, no way around it. Kurama is one of my favorite characters in all of anime.
Yes, sir.
I have a special spot for the smart guy of the group. The guy who, like, when stuff is going wrong, you can't rely on the hothead, you can't rely on the stupid guy, you can't rely on the tough guy, you can't rely on the smart guy. If you watch that show, you know Kurama saved their butts so many times, just with his mind, his strategy, and stuff like that. I freaking love Kurama. I love Yu Yu Hakusho. It also is one of those animes that's so foundational for me because it took the foundation that I like with the fight scenes with Dragon Ball and the martial arts, and then Yu Yu Hakusho put like a lot more intelligence into each and every part of it. It made everything matter more. It made every part of the combat matter. It made every character really matter in the series. They felt like a team. They didn't feel useless. They felt like every person was a part of that team, and those guys came together and formed a whole. They're like TMNT of anime. You can't separate them, man. They like brothers. They ain't brothers, but they like brothers, basically. So yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, yeah, that's a squad. Like Yu Yu Hakusho is a squad, and I've watched the anime all the way through probably 2 times. I didn't really like the last arc that much as other people maybe, but everything else was fire to me. So yeah, I love Yu Yu Hakusho. Third anime, and this is not actually because of, you know, in wake of the creator passing away recently, Yu-Gi-Oh.
I kind of wanted to mention that one too, but yeah, I have the same feeling.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh's impact, of course, on me as a youth also was pretty similar to DBZ's. Was like it was a moment in time that I remember very vividly, and not only did it cross over like in the game in the anime, but the games, the card game, multimedia production, like everything it meant a lot to me as far as like what an anime can do outside of just show itself. How it can be like impactful to you on different levels. We still play the card game to this day, or play around the card game. I was playing what was that big Yu-Gi-Oh duel game that came out earlier this year? I played that like crazy.
Master Duel.
Master Duel. I've been playing Master Duel like crazy. So I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh also was important too because it kind of ushered in that battle event type anime thing that was going on in the early 2000s with Beyblade and eventually Bakugan, Metabots, so everything was a competition. Zoids. It kind of brought in that era, and I really liked that era of anime too as a kid because it was just great to watch.
Man,
all
Battle
shows
City
like
was something else, man.
It was. It felt like watching ESPN the anime. Like it was like felt like everything was an actual sport. That commentary and the characters. Of course, the characters are iconic. Yugi, Kaiba, Joey. Always have a love for Joey. Really loved Joey as a kid as well. So Yu-Gi-Oh, I can't escape that one either. Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely gonna be on my list. The fourth one is kind of a toss up for me, but this probably won't be on anybody else's list. But I really freaking like Outlaw Star. Like I really like Outlaw Star. I remember like I always have a soft spot for sci-fi, and although I think
Hold up.
Okay.
Outlaw Star is not shonen.
No, it's not.
It's seinen.
It is?
Yeah.
Huh.
Was originally published in Ultra Jump. So it's aimed at like a little bit of an older audience.
Okay. They shouldn't have put it in that block then. Confused. Well, if that's not technically showing, I go Rurouni Kenshin. I feel like Rurouni Kenshin was an anime. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is another one where the creator messed up. Because the anime is, my God, it's great. Like, great written, great fight scenes, great protagonist, great story. Had a good impact on me because, of course, you know, samurai, like that samurai fantasy is a big thing. But I also liked like having a protagonist who was like, I guess Goku was kind of like that too, but a protagonist who clearly did not want to fight, who was kind of want to be on a peaceful kind of tip. What you better say?
I feel like we had some of those back in like the early 2000s where they were like they had the duality. They balanced out being like really overpowered with the fact that they didn't want to fight and they go to any length they could to not fight, like Vash and like Kenshin. And even this is really, really obscure, but I think maybe Terrence has seen it. Tendo Rushina from what was the name of that show? Grenadier. She was like knockoff Vash, but she had like the huge tits. She like make the bullets come out of her boobs. She was like non-violent as fuck. She never wanted to kill anybody. She was like, it was a shorter anime, but
I'll have to look this up later.
You say what?
I'll have to look this up later.
It was like well known. It wasn't like big, but it was like one of those ones you talked about because you were like, bro, this is such a ridiculous fucking show. But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah. So I really was big and really like Rurouni Kenshin. I felt like it had great pacing, had great villains. I felt like it was one of those animes that kind of stepped up like the story and storytelling and maturity for me. Like as I grew as an anime fan, I kind of wanted more mature storylines, and it was like the perfect time for it. And I really enjoy Rurouni Kenshin as well, so it goes my Mount Rushmore. And the final one, and it was in my head and I had a whole thing, but I almost forgot what it was for a second. The final one I'll probably put on there. You know what? I'm gonna leave it at just those four for now. I think that's a solid list. I don't want to stretch it out too much. There was one more, but I literally thought about it, had a whole thing. I forgot it for a second. I don't want to hold you off. I want to get a Sage list because his list gonna be awesome.
Yeah, Sage gonna have the real
so
list.
My list is gonna be a little bit different from y'all's. Not that much different. You see the shirt I'm wearing. Yu Yu Hakusho is definitely one of the greatest anime of all time. Like, think about this. How many younger people still consider Yu Yu Hakusho to be a GOAT anime? Like, that motherfucker didn't run for no Dragon Ball Z length. It didn't even get like a lot of reruns like Dragon Ball Z. It came on Toonami from like 2002 to like, or 2003 to like 2005 or something like that. They finished it one time. The last arc came on at like 3:00 in the morning or whatever.
Sunday.
And then once they finished it, that was it. they didn't bring that show back to my knowledge. So like people just remember it, and then they would go back and rewatch it and be like, oh, this is as good as I thought it was. It was just a really well done show. It did everything Dragon Ball Z wanted to do, but it did it faster for one thing. It wasn't that much filler. It wasn't that much time scene lengthening scenes or like a lot of like long fights. None of that Planet Namek is about to blow up in 5 minutes bullshit. None of that. It was just we gonna like I think the longest fight might be 4 episodes long. I think Goku versus Frieza is 12 episodes long. Like that to just show you just like the scale. Like they was moving quick. They had shit to do. They had to go ahead and get to the next fight. They had to get to the next plot point. And like the story was just better written. The character, like all those characters developed. Like when you think about Dragon Ball Z, a lot of those characters are flat. They're like very little about them changes. A few of them change. Piccolo changes, Vegeta changes, but like Goku's pretty much a flat character. He's the same guy. To me personally, he's the same guy in episode 1 that he is in episode 276. Like he's the same fucking dude. And a lot of those other characters, Tien, Chaozu, the only thing that they come to realize is like maybe I'm not that guy like that. Like maybe I can't really box with like the strongest niggas no more. Like I'm not that dude no more.
Yamcha, that was literally his character.
You say what?
That was literally his character. That was literally his character.
Yamcha was like, I'm not that dude no more. I'm finna go baseball. Tien was like, I'm not that dude no more. I'm finna go train out in the woods and look after Chaozu. Chaozu, he knew he wasn't that dude, so I mean, he didn't even try. So like, a lot of them dudes, like that was really the only story that they had. Like they didn't really develop. They didn't change that much as characters. They the same guy that you knew from the beginning. But like Yu Yu Hakusho showed you these characters who developed, and like Yusuke, he found friends, and the friend, like his lifestyle completely changed as he found a purpose in life and learned how to like not be so self-destructive and to actually give a shit about something. Like that shit powerful. Like even watching it as a kid, that shit was powerful. And every one of those characters was irreplaceable to me. Like you can't take not one character on that show out the show and it'd be the same shit. You can't take Yusuke out. You take even Kuwabara, like you take Kuwabara out, you took the
that's the heart.
Show. Like
that's
you
Draymond Green.
Exactly. You took the heart of the show. Like I wish you would. Like you can't take Kurama, the smart dude. You can't take Hiei out here talking. Hiei was okay for Vegeta fans. Hiei was the character that you actually wanted. Vegeta fans, like you watched your favorite character get his shit pushed in every time he fought somebody. His arrogance got the better of him. Hiei was like, yeah, I look like him, but we not the same. I'm not finna lose. Like he ain't never lost a fight except to Yusuke, as far as I know. Like he ain't always, whenever he had to box, he was like, "Yep, I'm winning." He was undefeated in the dark tournament. He was undefeated. Like he was the dude. He'd always make it look easy too. Like remember he fought Seiryu in like the Spirit Beast arc, like the Ice Dragon dude. He killed that dude so quick. He was like, I don't know what y'all talking about. What's taking y'all so long? He was always the dude. He would whoop somebody's ass and then make it look like it wasn't even that hard. So like everybody on that show had a purpose. Like even characters like Botan, Koenma. Like the only thing I'm upset about with that show is that it didn't run longer because the artist, he just kind of buckled under the weight of the expectations. He was like, all right, man, it's too much. Like people expect too much of me. So that's number 1 on the list for me. Hunter x Hunter, by the way, to me like is better from a plotting perspective, but inferior from a character perspective. Okay. It is an amazing show. I love Hunter x Hunter. It like I used to love watching it. Like I'd be in college and like the next episode would come out and I watched that and Fairy Tail at the same time, maybe like a Shonen Action Hour or whatever. I used to love that. Like that was like one of my favorite memories of being in college as far as like just watching anime. Like I used to love that, but like I don't love those characters like I love the characters from Yu Yu Hakusho. It's not even close. And like to pretend like it is like, oh, well, they're deeper characters. They might be deeper, but they're not more likable. And that to me is the difference between a 9 and a 10. Like when you have the plot and the characters, like the character development is good and you like the characters, because it's two different things between like, oh, they had a great arc. Like, okay, cool, they had a great arc, but I don't like the motherfuckers. Like I could take or leave them. With Hunter x Hunter, you had that problem. With Yu Yu Hakusho, you didn't. Pat Labor is another favorite of mine, which I had to, if you saw me looking away for a little bit, I was like checking to see like, is this a shonen? Pat Labor's a shonen. It's like the anti-mecha anime. You have this protagonist that becomes a cop purely because they want to pilot a giant robot, which I mean, like as a mecha fan, I identify with. So I'm like, yeah, bet. But like at the same time, you have this thing of like this character comes to care about their mecha. It's not a replaceable thing to them. Like the whole series built, like you know how in mecha, if you watch a lot of mecha anime, you know that in the middle of the series, the main character or the main characters mech gets trashed, and then
Right.
within 2 to 3 episodes, they get a replacement.
New one.
The whole arc of Pat Labor is like, we're about to replace this mech. It is just a machine. We're about to upgrade to a new machine. You got to move on. And the main character just cannot deal with it because to her, it like is her best. Like it's one of her friends. It helps her like it helps her survive her missions. She's been looking after it. She polishes it. She's learned how to pilot it better. Like she's a great but she just doesn't like she looks at it like a friend. Like she even named it the same name as one of her pets that she had growing up. And like the idea of her saying goodbye is like the whole core of the latter half of the series. It's unlike any other show that I've ever seen. The characters, they don't have the anime look, you know, like they don't have the, you know how you watch an anime and you can look at the crowd and you can tell who's part of the cast by like looking at the
who are the NPCs and who are the actual playable characters.
Yeah. Pet Labor does not have that. Like all the characters, when you look at the opening, by the way, 2 of the greatest openings of all time as far as like anime openings. But like when you look at the characters, you like you couldn't pick them out of a crowd, but you learn to love them because of like how they behave and they develop those characters. And you get a glimpse into who they are. And so yeah, that was definitely, even though it's a mecha show, it was published in a Shonen magazine, so that counts. Blood Blockade Battlefront, one of my favorite.
Nice
anime,
choice.
Not just Shonen,
You have mentioned
not
that a
just
lot,
Shonen
too.
anime, but
I
like one of my
haven't seen it.
favorite anime of all time. I fucking love that show. Like it feels like Trigun and Cowboy Bebop had a baby. It's so strange. Like the world is so alien and strange, but there's still this jazz-like feel to it. You have this ensemble cast that's just cool as shit. You have like cool fight scenes. You have this world that's unlike any other world. Like the only thing I hate about it is that it never finished. I would love to see like a continuation of it. But of course, at this rate, it'd probably be like some monkey's paw shit, like Kenshin and Trigun. Them shit's like, oh yeah, you want to remake a Kenshin? That's cool, but you got to find out that the creator likes cheese pizza. Put your initials together. I'm not just gonna say that on our channel like that. He likes cheese pizza and he a whole creep. Like fuck. You want Trigun? You want to remake a Trigun with that finishes the whole story? You can get that, but it's gonna be CG. I'm gonna move on. That makes me so angry. I just don't. What am I at? I'm at 3. Noragami. Noragami's really great. The homeless god. He just wants to have like his own. He wants to earn his own name. You find out, without spoiling too much, you find out he did have his own name. He forsaken it. He gave it up for like reasons, and then now he's trying to do things the right way. I thought that was a really cool anime. Another anime that probably should have gotten a finish but didn't. And Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood for sure. Brotherhood for sure. Like for all the reasons that Terrence said, like Brotherhood is just an amazing experience. Like every anime fan should at least try Brotherhood. And if you know somebody that wants to get into anime, Brotherhood should be at the top of your list of shows to show them, unless they just don't like action and thriller. And then I guess the last anime I would say is Fairy Tail. I just love Fairy Tail. Like Fairy Tail does Yu Yu Hakusho. It's like a poor man's Yu Yu Hakusho in a way, because it does take all the characters of it. Like it does something with all of its characters. Like by the end of the series, even though it's got this gigantic fucking cast, you know all the characters. Like you like they've gotten their moments in the sun, and it's not like a cheap moment where they contribute to taking somebody out. Like they took somebody out on their own. Like see them fight somebody, you get to see their character development, because like in Shonen, really a lot of the character development happens during the fight, and so you get to see these characters develop in fights. Gray has a purpose, Erza has a purpose, but it's not just those characters. It's Gajeel and Levy and fucking Alzek, Bezak and what's the like the chick with the cowboy hat, the 2 cowboys that they wind up getting married and have a child together. Like all that shit, like you get to see all this development. Like all these characters get to have like character development, and it had a very shit finish, but like before that finish, every arc was better than the last arc. Like if you watch the first arc, you're like, oh, this is kind of silly. I don't know. The next arc, you like, oh, this is still a little silly, but I'm kind of liking it better. By the time you get to like not Ten Island, by the time you get to like the Arasi and Seiya arc, you like, bro, this show is live. And by the time you get to like the Grand Magic Games, it's like, bro, this show is amazing. Like I fuck with it heavy. So like Fairy Tail would definitely be my number 5. And like the only thing I would say is Eden Zero might come up and surpass it because I already like the Eden Zero manga better than I like the Fairy Tail anime. What's up, Keem?
Oh, I was thinking about something you didn't mention, but like that's not Shonen. I was like, I always remember one of your favorite animes of all time was Sinful Gear. I forgot we're doing Shonen specifically.
Yeah, it's definitely not a Shonen anime because it definitely would have been at the top. All right, so one thing I noticed with everybody's list. Now mine, it was intentional. I don't know if it was intentional for y'all. It wasn't no big 3 on that shit. So how do y'all feel about the big 3? And I mean, I already can tell you how I feel about it, but I'm gonna leave that to like I'm gonna go last. So Terrence, how do you feel about the big 3, man?
So just to clarify, when we say big 3, we're talking the OG big 3, right? One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, right?
I mean, the OG big 3 to me was Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, and Kenshin. But yeah, sure, the Shonen big 3.
The big 3 that people actually talk about, yeah.
God, that's the truth.
You know what I mean. Yeah. I'm gonna keep this quick. One Piece. I mean, when One Piece was on Fox Box 4Kids, whatever, back when 4Kids was handling, I watched all of it up until like the last episode that 4Kids did. I personally feel that One Piece would have been even more popular in the West than it is now if it had a legitimate dub from Jump. Because imagine if DBZ had multiple dubs, but it made the transition from like the Ocean dub to the Funimation dub was kind of seamless for us. So it wasn't like we had to wait years on end to finally get another dub. In One Piece's case, once 4Kids was done with it, it took a while before Funimation picked it up and started like really working on it. So there wasn't a true English dub there wasn't an English dub outside what we originally got for years on end. Were you gonna say something, Sage?
I was just gonna add that, and Toonami, they like started from the beginning with the 4Kids dub and just ran it week to week for like 2.5 years until they finally got to the Funimation dub. So it took ages for you to get the Funimation dub.
Yeah, essentially. But I feel like I would be more of a fan of One Piece if I had watched it as a kid and I had just kept going with it until now. Whereas now it's just too big for me. Like I just can't. Like One Piece is just huge. It's just so many episodes. Like the manga, I could read it, but I just have not taken the time. And one thing I've heard about One Piece, the consistent thing I've heard with its fans is that despite its length, no complaints. Like people just really, really, really like One Piece. And you know what? I respect them for that. I haven't gotten into it. Maybe if I got into it, I would have the same level of love for it, but I don't. I can appreciate what One Piece has done. I know that it's one of the pillars of anime. I'll put it that way. Like I can't deny that. Even if I was like the biggest One Piece hater, you can't deny its influence. It's one of the most popular anime in the world and the most popular manga in the world. So yeah. For Naruto, I've always said is the Gen Z version of DBZ in my opinion, just because nowadays I'm starting to notice that so many people that are like, I don't know, like 5, 7, 10 or so years younger than me, they just really, really like Naruto. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think Naruto's great. I watched Naruto growing up. I watched it up until, well, the conclusion of Shippuden. Well, I watched up until like a first couple of arcs of Shippuden. Then I just went and read the manga just because I got tired of the anime. But neither way, I finished it. And Naruto has its problems, sure. But overall, it's definitely one of those anime that got people into anime in the same way that a lot of us talked about, DBZ got us into anime. It's definitely one of those anime that you, like, despite its current status, you have to respect it as one of the founding fathers. In Naruto's case, it's not a founding father per se, at least in my opinion, but it's one of those shows that you can't really escape. You've at least heard about it, So Naruto, in my opinion, is just Gen Z's version of DBZ. And, you could take that however you want to. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'll just say that I don't think it's the greatest anime of all time, as some people like to lift it up to be. It's not that. In the same way that DBZ is not the greatest anime of all time, Naruto is not the greatest anime of all time. So yeah, Bleach. Bleach is one of those where I'll always respect Bleach because they, at the time, they were one of the first shonen that I watched that really messed with people of color. Like in terms of like having people of color like in the show. Yoruichi, you had Chad, and there's so many others like the Espadas. I mean, this fact Espada, I mean, it's Spanish, and you know, you had that whole thing going on. It's just, yeah, I mean, I will always respect Bleach just because of that. Like it introduced some really diverse characters, and Bleach starting out was just really cool. It had Yu Yu Hakusho vibes, and despite where things kind of went after like the Soul Society arc and going into like Wako Mundo and whatnot, it was still cool in some regards, even though the plot kind of started to go off the rails. But out of the big three, I would definitely say it turned out to be the weakest. I am glad to see it coming back. I am glad that it's gonna get to conclude with the anime that's coming out in the fall. So I'm very curious to see how it's going to turn out. And I've seen like this resurgence of people having like respect for Bleach. Like I know Super Eye Patch Wolf, really popular YouTuber, love his video essays. I know years ago he made a video pretty much kind of like shitting on Bleach. And then I think it was either this year or last year he made a video where he talked about how he was actually reflected on that and he was sorry for it. Like he actually had to kind of like take a step back and rewatch some things and realize, okay, Bleach wasn't as bad as maybe I thought it was. So it is kind of cool to see this resurgence of respect for Bleach, and at least respecting the fact that even though it isn't on like One Piece or Naruto's level at all, it's still one of those shows that it kind of paved the way for the shonen that are out now. So yeah, that's how I feel about the big three. I mean, I like the big three at the time that they were at their peak. I mean, One Piece is still going, so you know it easily outpaced all of the big three. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, even though Naruto is technically still going, Boruto, I mean, One Piece is leagues ahead of Naruto. Let's be real. But yeah, I mean, I like the shows. They can Naruto and Bleach, they are overrated in their aspects. I would say probably the most overrated show out of all of them is Naruto, just because people love to prop that show up really high, and it's not quite that good if you take a step back and just look at it without rose-tinted glasses. And Bleach, you know, Bleach is, I think Bleach is fine the way it is. You know, some will say it's underappreciated. I think, you know, some people's criticisms of it, you know, they're valid. There's definitely some issues with Bleach. And One Piece, I mean, One Piece is the Titanic of anime. Just, you know, it's not going away. So yeah, I mean, you could call me out and say, hey, the Titanic sunk. Well, you know what I mean. I mean, it's huge. That's what I mean. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the big three.
Iceberg.
Yeah, it's the iceberg that took out the Titanic. That's what it is.
All right, Keem, how do you feel about the big three, man? Like it's the inescapable shonen, you know, trio.
I like all of them. I feel like for me though, the reason I didn't put them on my Mount Rushmore is because I ran into the 100 episode problem with those. That was when they really started with me. Like I would watch a lot of these series and binge watch them, and then by episode 100, I'm like, I gotta take a step back. I remember that happened in Bleach specifically. That was when that first started for me. One Piece recently, I actually rewatched from the beginning last year. From the beginning, I got to like episode 86, 87. I was like, Naruto, I watched recently again. Started from the beginning and watched over. So this is actually kind of on point for me right now. And I remember watching all three of those shows, and I'm actually finna watch a little bit of Bleach again, getting ready for the new arcs. I probably start watching Bleach again. There's a lot of stuff I like. Like there are like specific arcs in each of those shows that are fucking brilliant. The Save Ruki arc, I fucking love that arc. I like the way it's structured, genius. The tuning exam, genius. The War of the Best arc in One Piece, the way it was done, how it linked one arc to the next seamlessly into this epic story that led to, spoilers, the death of Ace being like the climax, the climactic end, and like the loss of his brother, and like the change he does for Luffy. Like that was like Luffy's first really big loss, like losing his brother in front of him, getting murdered. Brilliant. Like each of those shows, when they are at their peak, that's why people kind of laud these shows so much, because when they were at their peak in writing or like storytelling, they really ramped it up and found ways to tell stories and make the drama and the characters. They made you feel something deep. They made you feel the sadness of death. They made you feel the excitement of beating this opponent. It made you feel for the character, like when he, because each of these characters aren't Goku. Goku felt like he was in danger sometimes, but for the most part, Goku is Superman. You always felt like Goku's gonna win, even
because there wasn't nobody else that could win.
Even in the Cell saga, when it felt like he couldn't beat Cell, it didn't feel like couldn't beat Cell. It felt like Cell had a cheat code and he took a break and tagged his son in. That's what it felt like. It felt like he really won the fight, and Cell was like, I got some BS. All right, Gohan, you handle him then. That's what it felt like watching the Cell saga. So, like, I think each of those shows had really core moments that struck a chord in people. And I know I've watched a lot of these core moments. I know, like, Naruto, we mentioned before, my issues with the filler. But the arcs, like the beginning arcs, like from the beginning all the way to rescue Sasuke at the end of the official end of Naruto, the original show, I thought it was really well done. Shippuden, I felt like it had issues too with pacing and stuff like that. But when they centered the story and focused it around each Akatsuki member and their individual stories and like overcoming that, I thought those were brilliant. So that's how I feel about the big three is like they're really good at doing their storytelling of their characters in specific moments. However, my issue with the big three is they put too much BS in between there. It's like having the best sandwich ever. Like, you eat this sandwich. I miss Devin. Shout out to Mr. Gamer Love. You eat this sandwich, and it's going to be the best sandwich you ever ate. But for some reason, they snuck in a topping or a condiment you absolutely hate every once in a while. Like, put some tomatoes on there. Like, you can take the tomatoes out. Like, you could skip the filler. You could take the tomatoes out. But, like, it shouldn't have been there in the first place. And then, like, you get to a point like, oh, it still tastes good. And all of a sudden, you taste some, oh, you put mayo on my burger. And you slathered it. Like, a lot of it. So now, I got to taste this good burger, but now you can put some BS on top. That's an arc that was, like, iffy, or some character work that was iffy, like Bleach or Hime's character development. That was really iffy. Or Naruto's filler. Or some of the moments in One Piece that got really, really silly or really over the top and just kind of clashed with what the storytelling was going on. That's kind of how I feel about it. I feel like those shows, when I watched them at least, they all did specific things really, really, really well and were really interested in those moments and made you feel something. And that's one thing I can't take away from them. Made you feel something and you have that emotion connection. The problem I had was it was always littered with some filler or some weird arcs on the side that kind of just weren't quite as good, and it kind of knocked it down a peg. It felt like each of those shows, if they could have just like, they kind of, I hate to say this, some of these shows need Kais. Cut out the BS and get straight to the point.
Facts.
Cut out the BS. Like, One Piece is going forever. That's not happening anytime soon. But like, if they finish One Piece and give it some years after that, you can't just do a Kai immediately. Give it a couple years after that and just do like an abbreviated version of One Piece without all the filler and just get to the point, like the main arcs, and really focus on that. I think those shows be even better. But that's just me. That's how I feel about it. I feel like do some things really, really well, certain moments very, very well that are like important for those shows, like, really, really impactful moments, but they kind of littered it in between with some BS or like some arcs that I just didn't feel, some characters I didn't like. That's how I feel about those shows.
Man, with me, when it comes to big three, I'm tired of them. And I think more than anything, I'm tired of the fan bases hyping them up like they're the greatest shows of all time. And I mean, like, that to not be the case. But the problem is, like, that's what happens when you grow up with a show. It's the same problem people have with Dragon Ball Z. They grow up with a show, and now, like, nothing can replace it. And they'll come up with any excuse they can possibly come up with. The Dragon Ball Z fans, admittedly, are on shakier ground because their argument always breaks down to, but can he beat Goku? Like, my nigga, who gives a shit? Who cares if he beat Goku or not? Like, that don't make the show better or worse if he can or can't, or if she can or can't beat Goku. And then, like, you look at the big three, and what they'll do is aggrandize the importance of the big three and be like, oh, the anime industry just wouldn't be where it is today without the big three. The anime industry wouldn't be where it is today without One Piece. and it might be in trouble without Naruto. It's gonna be just fine without Bleach. And I say that as somebody who, when I was growing up, Bleach was my favorite of the big three by like a lot. Because I got tired of the Goku archetype. I got tired of the protagonist where this nigga was just like some
I agree.
fucking
I agree.
He was just some knucklehead ass motherfucker that just was just dumb. Just like, and the whole point was like pointing out how dumb he was. Like I got tired of that. And Ichigo wasn't like that. Ichigo was more like the guy in the green on my shirt over here. Yusuke.
Yeah.
He was like street smart. He
Call
knew
an
what was going
ambulance,
on.
but not from
You say
me.
what?
Call an ambulance, but not from me.
I give Ichigo has some swag. I give him that. Ichigo has some swag.
Ichigo had swag, and Ichigo was smart. Like, he knew what was going on. Like, he wasn't no knucklehead. Like, he might have looked a little bit out of sorts. Like, he might have looked like, oh, this dude, he not that smart. But if you remember, he even had high grades, because that's why they left him alone for what they thought to be Bleach hair. That's why they left him alone, because he had such high grades. It was like, hey man, do what you do. He was a smart guy, and so like I like Bleach for that. But like, here's the other thing. Like, Bleach had this problem of repeating its arcs, and it became apparent after a while. Like, the creator, he don't know what he did. Kubo ran out of ideas. Like, okay, you had the original arc, and then you had the Soul Society arc, which everybody agrees is the peak. But then you get past Soul Society arc, go to Hueco Mundo, and it's like, this is the same story. Ichigo is yet again in another area where he's surrounded by nothing but enemies, and he's got to go rescue a girl that he cares about. Like, it's the same arc. You copy pasted. Yeah, you made some small changes here and there, but like, bro, you copy pasted. And like, once somebody pointed that out, I couldn't unsee it. And like, beyond that, like the Fullbring arc, that left a lot to be desired. And like the final villain is like one of the most ridiculous fucking, like, stop coming up with villains that are so OP that like there's no reasonable way to beat them, and you have to come up with some Deus Ex Machina for them to lose. Like, cut that shit out. Like, the final villain of Bleach, and they about to see it when the anime comes back. When you see what this villain can do, you're gonna be like, bro, it's no way that anybody should have been able to beat this dude. I'm not gonna explain it because I don't want to spoil it. Like, if I didn't know there was an anime coming, I'd just tell you. But since there is an anime coming, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna set it out there like that. But that villain is absurd. He's ridiculous, and like, there should have been no reason that they should have won. And the answer isn't. The answer is just don't write the villain like that. And then, like, as far as One Piece goes, like, I don't like One Piece. Like, I saw the dub back on Foxbox, just like Terrence, and the dub was ridiculous. And I was like, man, get this shit. Like, I lost me then, but then like the fan base wouldn't shut the fuck up about it, and like they turned me off completely. I've never wanted to go back to see One Piece because the fan base was that annoying. And then like Naruto, like, it just lost me because it was just so fucking long. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was just too long. I don't have the problem Rakim has of 100 episodes because I'll just read the manga. But even then, like, the manga was just like 700 chapters. I got to like 530 right after Naruto meets his mom, and like, I reread it and got up to where I left off, and I got maybe 20 chapters past that. I got to where the Ninja War arc starts, and then I still kind of fell off, and I haven't gone back to finish it because there's shows that I like better. Overall, like, I respect the big three, but like, I know, like, I hate how aggrandized it's been because like in Japan, I'm like, bro, it's just One Piece over there, and in Naruto, it's just kind of like, like, Naruto's a big deal, but it's not the big deal. Like, do you see the numbers that Spy Family has put up? Do you see the numbers that Demon Slayer's put up? Like, those series are putting up numbers, bro. And you sit over here talking about some big three, like, bro, you got to get over it. Like, that importance that you think it has, it only has that in the West. So I'm not going to, stretch this last one out, but I do want to ask y'all real quick, what do y'all think the next big shonen is? For me, the next big shonen for me, and it may not be the smash hit that it is in Japan over here, Kaiju number 8. The story about the guy that, like, he's fighting, he's like his group is dealing with kaijus and shit like that, and then one of them becomes a kai. Like, that shit seems like it's gonna be hype. Like, I know that they got Chainsaw Man and they got a couple of other shows, and I'm pretty excited for Ayakashi Triangle, but like, that's also got like so many ecchi elements that I'm like, all right, this is not gonna be a hit. It's not gonna be the next big hit. And then the other show that I love, but it's never gonna be a hit in the West like that, is Eden Zero. But like, Eden Zero, I really love, like, the manga. It's only gonna get better if you're watching Eden Zero on Netflix. Season 2's coming out, I think, next year. It's only gonna get better. Like, it's only gonna become a better series as time goes on. But like, I just know, because of it being in what I like to call the Netflix ghetto, where it's just stuck and it can't, like, you're not gonna get that weekly experience. Like, it's gonna come out in parts. and you talk about it for a couple of days and it just goes away and it vanishes. Like Eden Zero is never going to be that. But Kaiju number 8, I think, has a lot of potential. Terrence, what do you think is going to be the next big series?
I think the next big one, just based on that Anime Expo clip that I seen, the next big one in terms of what's coming out, Chainsaw Man, just like, unless it just does not live up to the hype at all, which I think is impossible at this point. Like Mappa, I feel like they're going to deliver. I think that's going to be the next big one. Jujutsu Kaisen, it still has its steam. People are waiting for it to come back, and of course, Demon Slayer is huge. I mean, the last season that just came out, people freaking loved it, and I mean, I can't wait for the next season. So that's more than one, but those are the 3 right now that I think people should have on their radar in terms of like the next like kings of shonen, in terms of shows that are just going to do really, really well and just blow up in popularity, or in Demon Slayer's case, continue to blow up in popularity. So that's my answer.
All right, Rakeem, what do you think is going to be like the next big shonen?
Basically what you get, both of what you guys said. My choice was Kaiju number 8 because
Hey,
I've actually read some of it and I was like, this is
really?
good. And I read just a little bit of a couple chapters, like one chapter, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't want to spoil myself because I figured this would get animated pretty fast. If I'm not mistaken, this is by the guy who did Attack on Titan, or he's a part of it to some degree. Was it
I don't
different? Is it a
believe
different
so.
writer?
Is
a
it?
different writer?
Now I could be wrong. Let me because I'm glad you asked that. That's crazy.
Now I could be mistaken about that.
No, I don't think so, man.
Okay, but I remember the hype for the show was the manga itself. Around time like Spy X Family was getting talked about, Kaiju number 8
Yes.
was pretty much getting talked about just as much. And I have a feeling that it's gonna be a smash hit. I had unfortunately the other manga I was the most excited for already came out. Freaking Record of Ragnarok, and its animation was a big disappointment.
Aw.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, that's
it's
what happens when
okay.
you have to when you try to rush to new
Yeah,
series.
it definitely felt rushed. I mean, I feel like it's salvageable, but you got to get a different studio to work on it
Yeah.
for the next season. But yeah, that was the one I was hyped for the most was Record Ragnarok, but it already came out and is isn't that great. So yeah, Kaiju number 8, excuse me, Kaiju number 8, Chainsaw Man definitely. I'm interested in Chainsaw Man because everything I see about this is just over the top ridiculousness. And every once in a while, you gotta have one anime that's just like stupid for no reason. One Punch Man, remember how stupid that was, but it was the way they did it, great. That's a way to do stupid and over the top. You can make it work. I'm interested in that. So Chainsaw Man is what I'm most hyped for. Other than that, that's the most. What's the other manga you may have mentioned? Mashal.
Oh, Mashley, the Magic and Muscles.
Yeah, Magic and Muscle. I think that might be a little sleeper hit because that seems like have a little steam behind it too. I think Magic and Muscle might have something going as well.
Before we wrap up, I'll mention one other anime or manga, Aliens Area. It's like brand new. I told y'all I really hate getting involved in the new series, but I looked it up. I was like doing research for this podcast, and I like looked it up, and I was like, what is this about? And it was like 5 chapters. I was like, fuck, I'll give it a shot. It is really good. Like it's about this Earth where like aliens have basically start coming to Earth and like we don't know, and they just basically get away with doing whatever they want. And like there's this secret agency that's like, all right, look, y'all can't just do whatever the fuck you want to humanity like that. And they like recruit this dude who has basically alien material inside of him, which is giving him special powers. And he's basically just doing it because he wants to take care of his little brother and little sister. They're like orphans. Like he's just trying to keep his family together. And he's like, look, if y'all give me a job, if y'all pay me, I'll do whatever. So I'm gonna just deal with it. And so like the first 5 chapters were genius. I hope it doesn't get canceled. I hope it sticks around long enough to become popular and become like the next big shonen anime. But you know how Shonen Jump is. Like I'll probably get to like chapter 20 and they'll be like, look, that bitch canceled. So but all right, man, that's gonna wrap it up for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor. I need you to hit that subscription button on YouTube. I need you to follow us on Twitter and TikTok. I need you to tell your friends about us, and I need you to do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.